It's been almost 10 years since the Ford Mustang returned to Australia, and gee, we're glad it showed up. But now it's time for the 7th generation Mustang to strut its stuff down under, and today we're assessing the most popular model of them all, the GT Fastback V8 Auto. Yep folks, Auto. Yep, while it's the manual that gets all the glory, Steve McQueen slapping through the gears in Bullet and all that stuff, these days it's the Auto Mustang V8 Coupe that sells more. Maybe it's because it's a 10-speed and people think they're getting lots of cogs for their money. Speaking of dollars, the Mustang is no longer the blue-collar performance bargain it once was. This vehicle, once you add the Auto into the package, is more than $90,000 including on-road costs. The reality is Ford can do whatever it likes with the pricing of the Mustang because it's the last V8 rear-wheel drive sports vehicle left under $100,000. In fact, you have to go almost $100,000 upstream to find the next V8 sports car, and that's the Chev Corvette. At least Ford's softening the blow with some affordable servicing costs. You'll get through the first 4 visits to the workshop for just over $1,500. The warranty covers the car for 5 years and there's free roadside assist as well. Check out the exterior, and this couldn't be anything other than a Mustang. While it rolls on the same wheelbase as the old S550, the new S650 Mustang is longer, wider and higher. It gets a more angular front end, vanes in the grille and tri-bar LED headlights. The GT V8 also gets a larger grille opening because it sucks more air than the EcoBoost 4-cylinder Mustang, and it adds vents in the bonnet to expel plenty of hot air as well. These handsome 19-inch grey alloy wheels shod with Pirelli P0 rubber are standard fit. Man, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to engine bay. Check out all the gear stuffed in there. So that's the Coyote V8, and it's been an integral part of the Mustang package ever since it came back to Australia. For this iteration, it's up about 6 kilowatts in power and down slightly in torque. It continues to drive the rear wheels, of course, via a 10-speed auto and a limited slip diff. Now, fuel consumption, well, really, if you buy this thing, who cares? But it's pretty terrible. The only good news is, if you buy the 6-speed manual, it's even worse. Settle into the generously sized fake leather and ventilated driver's seat. Yeah, no hip-hugging boy racer stuff here. And you'll find an interior that's been brought much more into the modern age than the exterior design. Now, you may question that because you see this old-style handbrake here, but it's actually a manual lever for the electric park brake, so you can activate what's called drift mode. What's drift mode, I hear you ask? Well, check this out. Okay, this is a public road test. We're not going to engage drift mode here. Nor are we going to engage the line locker to do some burnouts, or drag mode to see how quick this thing is in a straight line. We'll save that for the track. Get a little bit more granular with your interior inspection and you'll notice things are not as premium as at first glance. There's a lot of hard surfaces here and in high traffic areas. And we've lost the signature chromed toggles from down in this area and just replaced by simple buttons. But most importantly, your seating position, you're going to be able to get it nice and low for sports driving. The steering wheel adjusts for reach and rake, and there's plenty of adjustment of the seat by both power and manually. Storage has never really been a highlight of the Mustang. Hey, it's a sports car, not an SUV after all. But you will notice a few things like skinny door bins and these cup holders, which are strategically positioned if in use to block access to the gear stick. Not such a big issue for the Auto because we've got paddle shifters up here, but if you've got a 6-speed manual, more of an issue. When it comes to infotainment, there's some cool numbers to take in here. A 13.2-inch touchscreen display, a 12.4-inch digital instrument panel, and 12 speakers worth of Bang & Olufsen goodness. Now, overall, the infotainment system, it's not too bad to navigate around, not too complex. However, would love more air conditioning controls because doing it all through the touchscreen is just a bit fussy. The Mustang runs on Ford's Sync 4 operating system, which is usually pretty seamless. We did have some trouble getting Apple CarPlay to run wirelessly. Cabled up, it was no problem. The GT also caters for Android Auto. So this is one of the most configurable instrument panels I've ever come across. We're in normal mode at the moment, but it changes depending on what drive mode you're in. So for instance, this is track you're looking at now. But you can also dive into the My Mustang mode and pick out a bunch of retro themed digital presentations. This one's 67, 68. How cool is that? The tech takes a bit of a dive when it comes to cameras and sensors. You only get a basic reversing camera and rear sensors. Considering how big this thing is and how hard to see out of, more assistance here would be appreciated. The new Mustang has taken a sizable step up in safety equipment with a more sophisticated set of driver assistance, including blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. What we don't know yet is how the Mustang will go in ANCAP testing. The old one only got 3 stars. Okay, at this point of the video, I'm meant to get in there and assess the rear seat space. Well, I can tell you from here, it's woeful. Look, there's a couple of top tethers and a couple of Isofix mounts, so maybe you could fit very young kids in there if you need to, but really, treat it as extra luggage space. Don't put people in there. Okay, the boot. It's actually quite a bit bigger than what you might expect, this being a sports coupe and all, but you will get some bags in there for your weekend trip away. Apart from this giant subwoofer, there's just no features though. Certainly not a spare tyre. At least the rear seat folds down to add more space. You can even fit a large mountain bike in here with the front wheel removed. Well, I don't think you can say the new Mustang is a great people mover. I think it's actually designed to move people in other ways. Let's go for a drive and see how it does. Dang, you sit low in this car with its nice low seating position and this partition between the seats. It's like sitting in a bathtub. And then you've got that big long bonnet to look out over. But it's really what's under the bonnet that's going to take all of 10 seconds for you to fall in love with. What a cracker of an engine this Coyote V8 is. You first crack the throttle and it's pretty gentle in its response. It feels like a bit of a plonker as it builds up its revs. But give it a bit more throttle percentage and it starts to really get cracking. It's got a fat mid-range and it sings to its red line above 7,000 RPM. It is a really good engine. Now the 10-speed auto, well, with so much power and torque on tap, really all it has to do is get out of the way and let the star of the show do its job, and it does to a certain extent. It does. It's pretty passive in normal mode, like almost too relaxed, and then in sport gets a bit fumbly with all those gears, especially down low. So when you're cracking the throttle, it sort of tumbles over the gears a bit. And then you've got the manual mode, of course. Now you have to be pretty decisive with manual mode. Plenty of times where go to clack a gear and nothing happened. The other thing is it's not really mechanically that well connected. It's a remote process, I guess you'd call it. I reckon Ford could do a better job of tuning that manual paddle shifting experience. Of course, the other thing is when you debate manual versus auto, for all the sports driving we focus on with Mustang, it's going to spend most of its time commuting, and the auto is going to be better for that situation by far. And as it turns out, it is more fuel economic than the manual. In fact, on test, it easily undercut its own official rating. Pretty impressive. The powertrain package is backed up by really refined handling in the new Mustang, and that's not a surprise because it's a carryover platform and suspension package just refined for the new generation. So it really does corner flatly and accurately. It feels very confident, aided by those grippy Pirellis. The steering, well, it feels pretty heavy at low walking sort of speeds, but once you get up and get rolling, it is actually pretty light, which is a bit of a Ford trait. Now, the other aspect of that is it might seem a little bit of a contrast with the car's bulk and weight, but this is a pretty keen car to turn into a corner. It's got sharp handling, so the balance works pretty well. And topping it all off are a set of Brembo brakes that are really confidence inspiring. The downside of all that, a bit sadly, is a pretty sharp ride. Look, it's not surprising. This is a sports car after all, but it is pretty jolting, and it really would become a bit uncomfortable on a lot of Aussie roads, especially if you're trying to press on a bit. It sort of jolts the car around, knocks it around a bit. It really does like a smooth road to perform at its best. So while the V8 soundtrack is sweet in this car, some other stuff that was happening was not so cool, like the rattle in the dash top, and under acceleration there's a tendency for a gurgle to come emanating into the cabin, maybe out of the sound enhancer. The GT insists on telling me to grab the steering wheel properly when I already have both hands on the steering wheel. That's a software fix coming for that, apparently. And every now and again hit the start button with my foot on the brake pedal and the car won't start. Try it again and it starts. Bit of a ghost in the machine here, maybe. All up, the Mustang road drive experience is a bit brutal, pretty loud, and a whole lot of imperfect and fast fun. No doubt it's a step on from Generation 6, if not a leap forward. It looks better outside, it's got some decent tech inside, and there's a heap more safety gear too. So there's plenty to like here. For sure, choosing the auto version of the GT Fastback Mustang is gonna dilute the experience slightly compared to the manual. But gee, it's still one hell of an experience. The problem is, no matter whatever Mustang GT you choose, you're gonna pay big bucks. But then, if you're into V8 and rear-wheel drive, it's pretty much the only even semi-attainable show left in town. And by gee, it's one show really worth taking part in. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos, and let us know what you think of this one in the comments below.